ball in the where is there he is. He's just too good, right? Wow, blessed man, blessed man. So this is how the heartbreak came along. We're playing basketball, good, all good, chill. We finish basketball. Then we start playing dodgeball, right? And in dodgeball, right, we went boys versus girls, right? We thought easy way to split it, easy way to do it. We'll just get boys on one team, girls on the other, right? So we do it. We split it up. Now, we're sitting there, we're playing, we're throwing the dodgeballs, whatever. And, the boys, we're getting in the lead. The girls are getting out one by one. They're getting out. Some of the guys getting out, And it's getting down to the last couple girls. There are like 2 or 3 girls left, right? And there's like 5 or 6 boys, right? Now, there was one boy, Dan, right, who didn't want to play dodgeball. He didn't want to play. He was like, no, I'm not going to play. I don't want to play. I'm going to sit out. And we're like, okay, you know what? Buzzkill, but fine, right? Fine. He's sitting out. He can support the boys from the bench. But what does Dan do when there's 2 or 3 girls left on their team? He decides to join the girls. You can't explain. Get out of here. Boo, that's all I hear. So Dan jumps on the girls' team. Originally, he didn't want to play, but now he's playing for the other team, right? And I turn around, right? This is a line. We know the boys are throwing it this way, the girls throwing it that way, right? I turn around because there's a ball at the back, right? I hadn't seen Dan join the team yet. I turn around, right? And I get smacked in the back. Right? Smacked, right? This basketball hits my back. But you know what? As I turned around and as I saw who it was, it felt more like a stab in the back. Right? Right? It was harsh. It was harsh. I looked at him as he's laughing. He's laughing. And in those seconds, trust, loyalty, gone out the window, broken. Right? There was nothing but heartbreak. And for the rest of the night, I gave him the silent treatment. Didn't speak to him. He came up to me. He was like, I'm sorry, bro. And I was like, no. Right? No, don't want to hear it. None of it. Right? You are in the wrong. This is your fault. Anyway, I got very annoyed at him giving the silent treatment. And, he keeps coming up to me the rest of the night while we're hanging out in the young adults hub. He keeps coming up to me, trying to start a conversation with me. Can you hear that? There's like a little, just ignoring him completely, right? But, man, who can stay mad at Dan? Not me. So, eventually, I started to feel bad for him. I felt bad for him, and I was like, I just can't stay mad at this guy. So I went up to him. I started talking to him again. I love you too, man. I love you too. How good, how good. But, everyone say but. That's a youth thing. Shout out to Maddie. Our youth get that. Anyway, but there have been a few times where I've had my heart broken and I didn't feel bad for them, right? There have been times where I had my heart broken because I had people do really nasty things to me or my family or my friends, right? And my heart was broken. It was hard to even forgive these people. But to feel bad for them was something that I was like, nah, never. I could never feel bad for these people. They did wrong against me. Yeah, I forgive them because the Lord tells us to forgive, and it can be a bit hard, but we need to forgive, right? So I forgive them, but to feel bad for them, I couldn't, right? How could I feel bad for the people rebelling against me? It doesn't make sense to do that. It's just not logical, right? But there is someone who does. Actually, there are multiple people who do, and we need to have more. See, there are multiple people who in this way are illogical. There are multiple people who in this way don't make sense. And there needs to be more. Right? See, there should be less heartbreak for ourselves and more heartbreak for others. See, this brings me to a great revelation that I had the other day. Are you ready? The revelation is, we live in the New Testament with the same Old Testament God. Amen? God is the same yesterday, today, tomorrow, and forever. Right? So yes, we're living in the New Testament. Yes, we have a new covenant. But we still live with the same God of the Old Testament. And that revelation is going to take us into the Old Testament today. See, upsettingly, a lot of people read their Bible, but not a lot read the Old Testament. Upsettingly, people tend to stick to the New Testament. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the New Testament is bad. I'm saying it's great. I love the New Testament because that's what we're living in, and how great to be living in the New Testament. To see that Jesus came and we can live in this testament, in this covenant with God, because Jesus came, died for us, resurrected, and set us free of our bondage. Right? How amazing. But that doesn't take away the value from the Old Testament. Right? See, suddenly a lot of people, if they go into the Old Testament, they might dabble in some Proverbs or some Psalms. Right? And I think that's the feel-good stuff of the Old Testament, right? But man, when you skip the Old Testament, you're skipping so much. You're missing so much. See, the Old Testament is 39 books of the 66 books of the Bible, right? The Old Testament makes up more than half of the Bible. So if we aren't reading our Old Testament, we are missing half of the Bible. More than half. Right? See, we can often skip the prophetic books of the Old Testament. Right? We can often skip them. We stick to Proverbs and Psalms, but we skip the prophetic books because we think it's all about doom and destruction. We think that every, prophetical book in the Old Testament is about this place did something wrong, and now the Lord is going to wreak havoc on them. It's going to rain down fire. They're going to turn to pillars of salt. It's all these crazy things, right? Talking donkeys. Anyway, right? There's all this crazy stuff going on, right, in the Old Testament. But often in the destruction of nations, we see the destruction of God's heart. Right? I'm going to say that again. See, often in the destruction of nations, we see the destruction of God's heart. So is it okay if we go back into the Old Testament for a minute? So let's open up to Jeremiah 4, verse 14. All right, if you got your phone, Bible, whatever it is, sweet. It's up there. Jeremiah 4, verse 14 to 19. Here we go. O Jerusalem, wash your heart from wickedness that you may be saved. How long shall your evil thoughts lodge within you? For a voice declares from Dan. For a voice declares from Dan and proclaims affliction from Mount Ephraim. Make mention to the nations, yes, proclaim against Jerusalem that watchers come from a far country and raise their voice against the cities of Judah.